Have you ever had one of those days where you catch yourself saying, I'm just not good at this, or that's just not who I am? Maybe it's about sales, leadership, technology, or something in your business that just feels overwhelming. Well, here's the thing: the way you think about your abilities can be the very thing that's holding you back from the success you really want. So, today we're going to talk about the power of your mindset, specifically the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And I promise you, this is more than just that feel good conversation. I'm not here to just pump you up and give you a lot of rah rah. I want to really go deep and I want to give you a set of tools that will help you recognize your mindset in real time, help you to shift it when it's working against you, and use it to unlock the kind of success you know that you're capable of. So let's jump in. And the first thing I want to do is define mindset because I think we use this word a lot. And what does it really mean? I think mindset is just simply the lens you see and the lens you use to see the world and yourself. Now, Carol Dweck, a Stanford psychologist, spent decades studying this and found that there are generally two ways people view their own abilities. There's the fixed mindset, where you believe your skills and intelligence are pretty much set in stone, that you've got what you've got. You went to school, you got your degree, or you spent time learning your craft or your trade, and that's it. That's what's got you where you are, and it is going to continue to support and sustain you. That's a fixed mindset. And then there's the growth mindset, where you believe that with some effort, with some more learning, with some persistence, you can grow, you can learn new things, you can adapt, and you can get better at just about anything. So here's the thing. Here's the difference between the two schools of thought, or the difference between these two types of people, or these two types of mindsets. A fixed mindset says, I'm not really good at something, so I'm going to avoid it. Where a growth mindset says, okay, maybe I just need to learn more about it. Maybe it's just a skill I have to develop it. And if I learn the right process and I practice, I can improve. So it's a completely different energy and it changes everything about how you show up. So I'm just going to ask you to take a moment and think about what mindset you find yourself in more often. Is it a fixed mindset or is it a growth mindset? So if we want to make this real, I'm going to give you an example here. So let's say you want to launch a new product and it totally flops. A fixed mindset says, well, that's over. That was a waste of time. And maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Where a growth mindset says, okay, that didn't go as planned. What can I learn from this? How can I do it differently or better? And what is the next step? So I know a lot of you listening to this podcast run companies, you're leading teams, you're entrepreneurial, and you might even have thoughts around your ability to lead other people. You might find yourself thinking things like, well, I'm just not a natural leader. That's fixed thinking. A growth mindset reframes it to say, leadership is a skill like anything else, and I'm just going to develop it. So listen, I'll be honest. I've had moments where my fixed mindset took over. I remember a time early in my career when I avoided taking on a certain task or a project, or maybe I thought I wasn't ready for that opportunity. But the truth is, I probably should have known at the time that I could have learned along the way. I figured it out and I eventually said yes to something similar later when I realized that with just a little effort, with a little time, with a little bit more education, I could develop that skill and learn the things that would help me move on. And that was a turning point for me. And I think that's really the thing about mindset. It's never really fixed. So even this entire conversation around a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, and I know Dr. Dweck did a lot of research on this, and she has it in her book called Mindset. We'll put a link to that in the show notes for you. But it's kind of ironic to me because I just truly believe that we can grow and we can shift our thinking anytime and we can dig in and learn things. And look, here's something else that's worth mentioning. There are always going to be things that are more natural for you, things that are in your strength zone. There are things that might be weaknesses. And so I am not suggesting that you spend a lot of time trying to overcome your weaknesses. It's just the mindset you have going in that says, I could do anything. I can do anything I really put my mind to. And that's really what we're talking about here. Because when you operate from a fixed mindset, you will avoid challenges. You'll avoid the new opportunities. You might even get defensive about feedback. You might give up when things get hard. You might turn into your comfort zone and feel like it's safer to stay there and be stuck there. But here's the thing, comfort zones don't grow us and they certainly don't grow businesses. So hanging out there is futile. So, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, a fixed mindset means you might avoid tough conversations with your team or you don't invest in your own development because you believe somehow that it's just the way you are. And in your personal life, it could mean turning down those opportunities because you're afraid of looking foolish or taking a risk or putting your neck out there or, stepping into a bigger pond because in doing that, you might have to learn some new things. But here's the cost, you miss out on growth. You miss out on creating a greater impact. You miss out on your next level of success. A lot of the things you might be saying that you want. So I want to give you a formula, especially for those of us who are in business, leading businesses, leading teams, working with people, entrepreneurs. I want to give you a growth mindset formula that I think will help you a lot. So, what does a growth mindset look like in business? Here's the formula I want to share. I think that number one, it's about embracing challenges instead of avoiding them. Now, I just want to talk about that for a second because challenges will come up and sometimes you're unprepared. Sometimes it could throw you off your axis a little bit. And so a momentary setback or a momentary reaction that has you feeling a little bit negative or fixed in your thinking is normal. I just don't think we should stay there. So I think someone who is really committed to having a growth mindset knows that we have to start to embrace the challenge and there's no sense in avoiding it. We have to hit it face on. And then I think another point I can make in this growth mindset formula is that we have to keep going. We have to persevere. We have to be willing to push through those challenges and through the obstacles. And no, it may not be easy. It's going to be challenging. But at the end of the day, that's what allows us to start to think differently, think strategically, and get to the other side of the problem. I think another part of this growth mindset formula is just acknowledging and valuing effort. That in trying, in putting in the effort, especially whatever it takes to get better at something, is better than the achievement itself. Because if you keep trying and you keep putting in the effort, that progress, even if it does feel slow or incremental, is going to reveal more things to you. It's going to give you more opportunity and it's going to create results and it's going to start to let things flow again. And I think, again, someone who has a growth mindset is open to feedback, even when it's uncomfortable. They seek it, they want to talk it out, they want to understand, they welcome the information because they know that the feedback will help them improve, right? Like I said, even if it's uncomfortable or painful. And finally, I think that individuals who have this growth mindset are truly inspired by other people and they're inspired by other people's success stories and they don't feel threatened by it, right? Because they know that when they are connected to other successful people, when they are witness to that success, when they're asking questions about that person's journey, they're learning so many valuable things. And the knowledge and the value they're getting from that knowledge is far greater and really far more important to their journey than feeling threatened by it. Feeling threatened by it doesn't give you any advantage. So I believe that shifting your mindset is about changing what you're thinking, changing that inner language, maybe even asking yourself some better questions. Add the word yet to the end of any of your limiting beliefs. So if you catch yourself saying, I can't do this, fill in the blank, add yet to it. So if you find yourself saying, well, I can't do this, I don't know how to start a business yet. And another way to reframe some of your thinking and shift some of your vocabulary that's going on up in here, why not try replacing why me with what can I learn from this? What is this doing for me? I think that sometimes when we find ourselves thinking that something is happening to us, the opportunity is to shift into thinking that it's happening for us, right? And I have to say, one of my favorite practices, as I've shared with you so many times here on Mojo before, is to keep a journal. You know, when you find yourself in a time or phase, a chapter where you're going through a lot of growth and you're really starting to examine your thoughts and you're really encouraging yourself to keep that growth mindset open, write down and journal about the challenges that you're facing and really just pull it apart and explore, more importantly, what you're learning from it. What are the lessons that you're taking from this time in your life? What lessons and really what actions can you take based on those challenges? That's a great exercise to put in your journal. And I'll make sure in the show notes I give you a couple of journal prompts that will help you with that. So I think that mind shifting is well within your control. It can be done in real time. I think it always starts with some awareness. So it just means elevating your thinking to being more conscious so that you can recognize patterns in your thoughts and in your words and behavior. And if you can recognize that you are starting to fall into that fixed mindset, you know, where you're saying things that might be more negative than empowering, just catch yourself and flip it, right? So if your thoughts are starting to make you feel like you're failing at something, I want you to turn it into something that is much more of a growth mindset and just say something about, you know, what you're learning and experiencing and pivoting and how you're changing and evolving because of that, right? What you say to yourself is so important because you're listening to your thoughts all day long, right? So I'm going to give you 3 questions right now that you can ask yourself. Maybe again, you want to journal on it, and we'll put these 3 questions in the show notes for you. And I think that if you could take some time to answer these questions, you would be amazed at what it reveals and how it starts to peel back the onion, as I say, and helps you to really move forward. So here's the first question. Where am I holding myself back with a fixed mindset? Now that you've heard a little bit about what a fixed mindset might sound and look like versus a growth mindset, just do an awareness check. Check in with yourself and say, where am I holding myself back with a fixed mindset? Now, no judgment, but just acknowledge it. Number 2, how would a growth mindset handle this differently? That's a good one. How would a growth mindset handle this differently? And then finally, number 3, simply this: what's one thing I can learn this week to make me better next week? So, my 3 questions for you: where am I holding myself back with a fixed mindset? How would a growth mindset handle this differently? And number 3, what's one thing I can learn this week to make me better next week? And today's message is that your mind is your most powerful tool, especially in your business. So you really just have to use it well. And remember, you are not your current results. So if you are hitting a tough time in business, if you've been struggling, if you are hitting some sort of brick wall or you're on a plateau, just understand I see you. I see you trying to do all the things to work it out and get out of it, and it's temporary. So you're not your current results. You're really your potential. And I think that's what we have to identify and connect with is our own potential. And potential will continue to grow with effort. Potential grows when you can commit to learning, and your potential will expand with that persistence, right? With that grit, with that tenacity, that willingness to see it through. So the next time you hit a little bit of a wall, don't stop. Just ask, what is it here to teach me? What is it here to teach me? So if today's conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who needs a mindset reset too. And just remember, you want to, number one, show up for yourself and keep showing up for the people who depend on you, the people that you lead. And we can't expect to know everything at any given moment, but we do have to say that we are willing to learn. And that's really what today's message is about, is that keep learning, keep growing, and stay committed to your own growth and your own progress. So share this episode with someone else who needs to hear it. I appreciate you following the show and leaving a 5-star review. So thanks for that. And I'll see you next time.